Good morning, students. Welcome for today's e-learning session of Sri J.M. Randa Primary School, Standard 8, and the subject of the day is English. My dear students, today we are going to start the 7th poem of our Honeydew textbook, and its title is When I Sat for Lioness. Okay, so let's begin with the summary of the poem. As a young apprentice architect, British poet and novelist Thomas Hardy once visited a parish to supervise the restoration of a church. On his return from the parish, people noticed two things about him: a new glow in his eyes and a crumpled piece of paper sticking out of his coat pocket. That paper, it is recorded, is one of his biographies. Contained the draft of a poem. You are going to read that very poem inspired by a visit to a place which the poet calls Lyonnaise. So, students, here when the poet was the young apprentice means the trainee. He was receiving the training for being an architect. Okay, he was also the poet as well as the novelist. His name was Thomas Hardy. He once visited a parish. Parish is a small administrative district typically having its own church as well as a priest. So he visited the parish to supervise the restoration of a church. So when he returned from the parish, the people noticed two things about him. The first one was the new glow. There was a new glow in his eyes, and the second one was there was a crumpled piece of paper which was sticking out of his pocket. And that paper was containing one of his biographies and the draft of this poem. So this is the poem that we are going to read, and this poem was inspired by one of the visit of the poet to the place which he called as Lyonneesse. So let's begin with the poem. When I set out for Lyonneesse 100 miles away, the rime was on the spray, and the starlight lit my lonesomeness. When I set for Lyonneesse 100 miles away. So students, the rhyme here is the frost, which is formed due to the rapid freezing of water vapor in cloud or fog, and is formed on the cold objects. Okay, so what does the poet says here? When he set out, when he started his journey for Lyonneesse 100 miles away, what was there on the way? It was the frosty way. The rhyme was on the spray means the way was such a frosty. And starlight lit my lonesomeness. And there was the starlight. Starlight means the light from the star, which had highlighted his loneliness, his deep feeling of loneliness. Loneliness means he was not accompanied by anyone. When I set out for Lyonneesse 100 miles away. Let's see what the second stanza says. What would bechance at Lyonneesse while I should sojourn there? No prophet durst declare nor did the wisest wizard guess what would be chance at Lyonesse while I should search on there. So here the poet was wondering that what would have happened there. By means what would have happened surprisingly there at Lyonesse while his temporary stay there. Sojourn means the temporary stay, which was not declared by the prophet. Prophet means the proclaimer of the God, who says the God likes this or not or whatever. Who says everything about the God is called as a prophet. So none of the prophet could dare to declare, none the wisest wizard could guess. Wizard means the magician. Even they were also not able to guess what was going to happen. This was about the second stanza. Now let's see what the third stanza says. When I returned from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless. When I returned from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes. So here, what does the poet says? When he returned from the Lyonesse, so what was there? There was some magic. There was a magic in his eyes. Means the some glow was there. It was something different which was noticed by everyone. With mute surmise. Mute means without any voice. Everyone was mum. And surmise means there was a supposition that something may be true, even though there is no evidence to confirm it. It means people had started making some assumptions that this must have happened or that must have happened, like that. Okay, so that is what surmise says. My radiance rare and fathomless fathomless means too deep to be measured. It means what mystery was there, it was too deep. It was such a difficult to measure what would have happened there when I returned from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes. So students, this poem was given by Thomas Hardy. Let's recite the poem again. When I set out for Lyonesse 100 miles away, the rime was on the spray and starlight lit my lonesomeness. When I set out for Lyonesse 100 miles away, what would bechance at Lyonesse while I should sojourn there? No prophet durst declare, nor did the wisest wizard guess. What would bechance at Lyonesse while I should sojourn there? When I returned from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless. When I returned from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes. So students, this way we have come towards the end of today's e-learning session. I hope that you have understood the poem very well and enjoyed. Now, go through the PDF file and complete your writing work. Thank you. Have a nice day.